if they've tried everything and they're still not having much success with CPAP, what do you recommend? Are there other treatment options?
Yes, I mean, in the end, about 10% of people do struggle significantly with it. If they're taken through the proper setting up process, most people actually can tolerate CPAP very easily. But it takes practice and it takes patience and it takes you working with the therapist to do that. You're quite right, there are some people who really find it almost impossible. And to be honest, they're usually people who have a slightly more mild form of sleep apnea. But in those options, the other options are really mandibular advancement splints, which for the more mild sleep apnea will work, and that just keeps the jaw forward, so it keeps the tongue out of the way, and therefore opens up the airway. They're not sufficient for moderate to severe sleep apnea. The mask is really the only thing that will control that. But if you can't wear a mask and you've got severe sleep apnea, then using a mouth guard will actually help. There's a thing called a tongue stabilizer as well, which just fits onto the front of your tongue to keep the tongue forward. Again, it deals with the mild, just snoring or mild sleep apnea. It's more difficult to wear, but it works because if you can keep it in, because it keeps the tongue forward. For children, again, there are some other options. There's rapid maxillary expansion. Dentists will actually put a device in the upper part of your hard palate here to just open up the back of the pharynx. But we do use CPAP on children as well if it's necessary.
And I guess the important thing is don't give up too easily.
No. If you've got sleep apnea and it's been diagnosed, then working pretty hard to actually, it's really worth getting rid of that for a number of reasons. I mean, as I say, the main ones are tiredness, partner disturbance, and that cardiometabolic risk is huge. In the long term, even medium term, that can be quite significant, quite dangerous, in fact, in some cases.
And sometimes the answer is daytime practice, sitting up in a chair.
Absolutely.
Where those who suffer a little bit with claustrophobia don't need to feel that they're going to miss out on their night's sleep.
No, that's exactly right. Practicing with it, sitting in front of the television with some distraction, for example, just holding the mask in front of you and getting used to the idea of something on your nose. It really is worth desensitizing, if you like, this idea that you get claustrophobic. A lot of people say they don't like something on their nose, but they wear glasses, for example, so presumably they got used to with something on their face. This is a little bit more enclosing, I guess, but it's pretty minor. And these days, as I say, just a nasal mask is what most people cope with anyway.
And I guess, do people tend to over-breathe with it when they first start with it? Is that
the
problem?
They get panicky, that's the problem. And again, that's what the therapist will talk you through. But the main thing is, if you could consider it as being a fan in a box, it's a little aerated fan in a box, and so it's not a horrific, blasting the air out of your back of your throat. Most of the time, when you just breathe out, just breathing out like that, you're breathing out at about 25 to 30 centimetres of water pressure. The pressure going in is much more likely to be something like 10 or 12 centimetres of water. So you've actually got plenty of leeway to breathe out. If you can control your mind to say, this is okay, I can do this. And your lungs then very quickly accommodate that, so that after a few minutes, when you're used to it, the lungs immediately say, oh yes, I've got the new pressure, and that you carry on breathing as if you had nothing on your nose. So it is practice, it's perseverance, and connection again with a therapist.
So often overcoming those fears are really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's one, as I told one person once, eventually it's just harden up and get on with it.
Yes.
And she actually thanked me for it a few days later. She rang up and said, I tried it. And I'm like, after you said that, I thought, I'll have to do that. And she reported that she actually
And when you look at the potential side effects from it, it is really worth persevering quite severely to try and get rid of it.